Hello and welcome to today's video. So this time we're going to take a look through another batch of vintage Great Pan paperbacks from my collection. These all need cleaning and generally putting good before they go back into my collection after being cleaned. So that's what we're going to be having a look at today. So sit back, relax, and let's get to it. So we'll start off with this Georgette here, a GP51. And this one's actually one of the more tatty ones that we're going to see today, and it's dating from 1956. So, unless noted, these are all first editions. But look at this; it's got the back has been reinforced. So, this is definitely, when I go back and edit this, I'm going to pop this one on my upgrade list if it isn't already on it, because that is most definitely a bit of a rough copy of that one, but it should be pretty easy to get replaced. Commando Extraordinaire. Now I'm quite surprised to see this one is also not mint by any means. Most of the Pound War books had very big sort of print runs, so they're pretty easy to get your hands on, in all honesty. But it is what it is, I suppose. This one's a real nice copy of this, The Meaning of Reason. This one seems alright. But quite a few of these are going to have dusty tops, and I will give all the covers a bit of a polish as well at the end, because I think these are of a period now where we can get away with giving these a little clean up that way. Lost Pharaohs. Another bit of a ropey copy here, number 55. Very rough, very rough spine. Some of these I would have had for many years. I started collecting pans when I was sort of in school with the James Bond ones and a few sort of movie tie-in ones and things like that. I've never really stopped, in all honesty, but I've got more into it when I'd sort of reached the peak of my penguin collecting. So I got a lot of the penguins, and it was down to the stage where if I picked up a new penguin book, it was going to be one that was going to cost me a few quid. And the Pan books still do represent very good value for money. So I think they're a great publisher to collect. Lots of variety in their authors, even non-fiction and fiction. So this was first published in 1948. This is the reset edition from 1957. So that would have been the first one, GP57, with that particular cover there. And I do collect the re-released versions of the books with different jackets. And we've got just under 60, which was a full shelf of my Pan collection, and we are slowly but surely working our way through. This one's got some water damage on it. We'll get a couple of wedges, and then we'll give them a good brush down. There's a nice copy of Cockleshell here. So this is usually what you find the war books in, really tip-top sort of condition, because generally speaking they had big print runs. So it's frustrating when I've got one which is a bit of a low print. Really great covers. These have all the ones we're going to see today have all got really nice dynamic artwork covers. Just what I really love about Pan books, in actual fact. It was definitely a huge selling point for them. King Solomon's Ring. But I've got lots of gaps, the first 100 or so that we see here, I'm not too badly off, but they do start to get a bit spotty after that. There's lots of pans that I'm still missing. I've not gone down the route of trying to pick them off one by one off eBay. It's a very sort of expensive way to do it. But there's generally, unlike where there's like a few dealers who specialise, say, in vintage penguin books, there's not really any dealer who specialises in vintage Pan. And there's only so many job lots and collections you can buy without massively doubling up. That's lovely, isn't it? Your Baby and You. Oh. the jury. They did a few of these sort of true crime ones, looking at juries and judges and solicitors and things like that. Funny to sort of think about it these days, isn't it? But they must have been pretty popular for Pan to keep publishing them, I guess. But yeah, great jackets. This is a Western by the look of it. What was that inside? Sucratinum, whatever that is. It looks like a little sweet wrapper. Sucra, that might be sugar sweet or something like that. Maybe someone read it on the on a plane journey and we're given that. So I think what we'll do, we'll pop these into little brushable piles now, and we'll give these a bit of a brush down because they are fairly, all my books, not all of them, but stuff that's been in my collection for potentially decades is all going to be quite dusty. So I've got the trusty shoe brush there, and I'll give these a brush while we're here, and then at the end I'll go through them all again, and I'm going to give them a lots of that bottom at the end. I'm going to give them all a polish as well. Yes, you can almost sort of see that really beaten up Georgette hair was the one which needed the work. God, I can detect the dust in the air just after that little brush there. But I do love my pans. I pride myself generally on the condition of the collection as a whole. There's obviously a few dogs in there, but I'd much rather have a lower grade copy than no copy at all. You know, even if it's just a placeholder, that's absolutely fine with me. So I have now got the room back where, well, it's actually an office, but it was where my daughter was temporarily staying. She'd moved back home until her new house was ready to move into. So she's now moved out, which means I can get back into the room. And that particular room has got most of my hardback collection in, which we've not really sort of started on at all on this channel yet. So what I think I'm going to do next week is going to be another batch of 70 or 80 sort of vintage Penguin books. The next batch to do, which is the very tail end of all releases in actual fact. And then I think I'm going to start going through my sort of first edition hardbacks systematically. So it'll be a bit different to what you see today. They will all need a polish. Sorry, not a polish, a brush off rather. But some of the dust wrappers might actually need a bit of a polish if they're stained and things like that. It depends what you've got to work with. Certainly there's quite a bit that's never been looked at properly, not for many years, and I think it'll be a good idea to sort of assess what's actually in there, in all honesty. So look out for that in a couple of weeks. Very dusty tomes here. Just a couple odd ones here. Sure does make a mess, this. Right, get the next batch here. So, The Long Haul. That one almost looks photographic, but look, it's got Peff's signature. That's Sam Peffer, quite a famous pan artist. He was an artist who used photographs as reference for his artwork. So maybe that was a photo, and that was probably his wife, Kitty, because he used her in a lot, and he also used his brother. So maybe that's what it is. This one I'd like to upgrade because it's got that big 5p on the front there. But amazingly, for what is quite a common book, I've still yet to come across one which was any better than the one that I've actually got, because they sort of changed the jacket fairly soon afterwards. So hopefully one will turn up at some point. But that's the thing when you're a collector, you're always striving for a better copy. I mean, I remember getting this one very, very early into my pan sort of collecting career, you know, probably 30 plus years ago. This one on Charlie Chaplin, I remember it being a good copy at the time. And I think I paid about £3 or £4 for it because it was something a little bit different, you know. It was a really nice one. It's good, I'm glad I did, because it's quite one of the more collectible ones, because you know, sort of mid Charlie Chaplin's career when that was published. It's an interesting book. This is quite interesting. This one does appear, number 70, to be on much thicker paper than some of the other ones. And this is a phenomenon which happened in pan, where books are just printed on different papers, so they've got a different thickness. So that, I suspect, might be what they call a thickie. Absolutely gorgeous one, this. I love this, this Hornblower book. Most of them, of course, were published by Penguin. So this was first published in 1957 by Pan. This is the new edition, which was reset in 1959. Beautiful cover by Taylor there. Gorgeous. And a great book to boot. I very much enjoy the Hornblower books. And then another copy of this one, and I imagine it's just because it's got a slight variant. So let's see which printing this one. So this is the 57 one, and that was the 59 one. So that's the later one, that's the original one. And that's got a little 2 and 6 there. 2 and 6 is in a square there. So it just changed ever so slightly. But the cover actually remains the same. The writing on the spine is different as well, like Forrester and C.S. Forrester. So a couple of little changes over the course of a couple of years. And I wouldn't ordinarily have kept those, but because it's Hornblower and I do collect the Forrester books, I got a full set of the Hornblowers in hardback first edition, which we'll no doubt see now in the next few months. That's why I've kept it, basically. I've got the rest of them, at least most of them, were published by Penguin, and I've got like a duplicate set of those as well, because they're just great editions to read, or they're not as nice as that Pan one. Pan did publish a couple more Forresters much later on, which we'll see, well, probably months away till we get round to those, I would think. Another great Rex cover here. Let's slide these around. There. Another fairly ropey copy of this one as well, another sort of RAF book. Quite surprised that my copy of something like that is not great, better condition, you know, but there you go. I'll pop it on my upgrades list. Sometimes you just don't know until you go through. Now look at this, there's got a big bit of tape in. What is that doing there? Is it torn or something? Maybe the page was torn, but I mean, apart from that, it's a really nice copy. It's a bit mysterious, isn't it? Jump for it. Obviously, around this time, Pan had already published Colditz, and it had been a roaring success. And the latter days of Colditz, Colditz, the second part, as it were. So they were more than happy to do other sort of wartime memoirs in the hope that they would get another hit like Colditz on their hands. And they had a few. None, I think, that ever lived up to the success of Colditz, but they did have some good ones. And this one's actually got something that we have to rub out for the change. First time we've actually seen some sort of vintage marking here. That's nothing to do with the book, so we shall safely get rid of that. It's actually a pretty nice copy, that one. Yeah, very, very nice, in fact. The Crooked Hinge, John Dixon Carr. That's a nice copy as well, really nice and supple. Once again, it's got quite a bit of penciling inside. Now, this is quite interesting. So, the last one was like this. So, it's got 8/79, so you could assume that was August 1979. And it's got VG, or very good maybe, then November 84 and October 89 with an M. So that makes me think that whoever owned this one, and the last one in fact, they were recording inside when they read it each time. If they went back over their library, they just made a little note of when they'd last reread it. And they actually put a comment on this one to say that it was very good. That is my suspicion. Oh, and look, it's inside as well here as well. So it had a 3 and 6, or 2 and 6. I think 3 and 6 corrected to 2 and 6. So we'll scrape that out as well. And it's got another little M in the top there. So this one was covered in bits, wasn't it? Inside in the very corner there, it's got a date stamp, which is 12th of September 57, which is possibly when the book went into shops. Yes, it was published in 1957, so that may have been, that stamp may have been something that was put in by the actual bookshop. I'm guessing, bookshop at the time. So anyway, let's give these a bit of a brush down while we're here. That really is quite dirty on top. So my suspicion is that quite a bit will come off some of these that we've just looked at. Yes, quite a bit. It seems always like one of the 3 books that I pick up is worse than all the others. There may be one that's never been through any sort of cleaning process with me before. They weren't too bad. Dust everywhere. Brilliant. That's all them done. Okay, so GP81. Shoot first. But shoot as in shooting film, not shooting a gun. Oh dear, that's in a bit of a rough state here. Yeah, that's in pen, so not a lot I can do with this. I've even put GP81 because the spine is a little bit worn. But yeah, a bit of a ropey copy again in the old collection. This is the first, A Secret Adversary. Wouldn't mind getting this one upgraded, but it's an Agatha Christie. And it's funny because I had multiple copies of lots of these, but even this is actually a reprint. So, oh, it is the 57 edition though, so it is the correct one. But it's one that definitely needs to be upgraded. So that one's going on the list. And that is another very good reason why I do these videos. It's to sort out the wheat from the chaff, as it were. Really nice, bright, bold cover, that one. And that is Alan Ladd, Clifton Webb, Sophia Loren. That's who that is, Sophia Loren. I couldn't remember. I have been asked to do a video on Pan movie tie-ins, so it's something I am very much thinking of working on, but it's going to take some time to go through and pull them all out. But it is something I'm thinking of doing. Now this one I've got 2 copies of, so it's the 3rd Ghost book. This is the original GP86. And these are really nice, these Ghost books. And I wish I had some of the later volumes, but they are quite pricey. So that's the 1st edition of the 3rd Ghost book. Nice copy of that one. And this is the later one with a different jacket, more in keeping with the Pan Book of Horror Stories than anything else. Now this would have had a little... This is the reprint from the second print from 1960 with a different jacket. That would have had a little 2 and 6 sticker on there, which has come off. But sadly, nothing I can really do about that because I haven't got a spare to hand at the moment. This is lovely. So, White Oak Harvest, Mazza de la Roche, and it is signed on the front there by Peff, Sam Peffer. And there he is, that's his normal signature there. But I actually got to meet Peff in about 1990, I think it was, 1990, 91, something like that. And I knew he was going to be a guest at this London paperback show. And I took all my Peff covers that I had at the time with me. Not just Pan, there were a few digits and a couple of other bits and pieces. I took them all with me, and he graciously signed them all in that silver pen there. So it was very, very nice to actually get to meet him back then. It was a long time ago now, and sadly Sam is no longer with us. He was a very talented chap and lovely to speak to. I was going to say that's another one I'm going to put on my upgrade list, The Man with 3 Faces. It's funny, with the Pans, I've always sort of concentrated on the original number-only series, but now that I've got that licked with just a handful that need upgrading, out of the 400-odd that there are in that set, this is the 57 printing, so this is another one I might need to check. I'm sure it's correct because this is the movie tie-in one. It's the later ones after sort of number 100, as you'll see, where they start to get a little bit spotty number-wise. There's gaps start to appear. It's because I've never really concentrated on them like that. And when I've been seeing collections of Pan fairly recently, it's always been massive job lots, and I'd just be buying it for like 20 books out of say 100 or less, so it doesn't warrant buying the full job lot for just like one book. It would seem a bit of a waste, so I tend to steer clear of those. This one's got very sort of dirty page edges here. It's got that on the front, it looks like ink, so I'm not going to be able to do much with that. So let's give these a brush down. Certainly a few ropey books here, unfortunately, but I'm not really complaining. It's just I would like as you sort of go on the longer you are a paperback collector and the more sort of books you have through your hands, you do sort of get sport when you get really, really nice condition books, and you forget that generally these are second-hand paperbacks that are quite like all of these that we're looking at today are over 60 years old. In fact, they're about 65 years old. So they're not going to be in the greatest of shape. I mean, you have to sort of bear that in mind. If you get one which is particularly nice, well, that's just a bonus. So again, lots of dust coming off some of them. Right. What a mess they make. Okay, last little pile here. Still digging with Sir Mortimer Wheeler. Little archaeology book there. And I said, oh, Pan, they do. Well, they did. They published all sorts of stuff. I suppose they still do, Pan Macmillan. So I've got 2 copies of the ABC murders here. I'm suspecting that the worst condition one is the first. So that is the first there. I would imagine this one here is just a reprint, but it's in better condition. But yeah, this is the second printing from a year later. So I can't really see much difference, except the later printing is much better, so it will be one that you read. It's a nice moody cover from Pef there, isn't it? The Case of the Cautious Coquette. Very, very nice indeed. Almost like airbrushed, isn't it? That? I think some might say Pef was in his peak in the mid to late 50s. That was when he was really riding high, I think, with his quality. But I think he was consistently good. There we are. I burned my fingers. He should have been more careful, shouldn't he? Emotional conflict. This one always makes me laugh. You and your child. Bit of a ropey one of that. I guess that's the sort of one that I can't imagine sold bucket loads like some of the fiction would have done. But, I mean, I don't know for sure. But this is a bit of a rough old copy. that's okay. A flag in the city. This is number 100. This is Great Pan 100. This was one of my favourites. John McDonald Crime with a PEF cover. It's quite a collectible one. I've seen this one go for upwards of £10 to £12 for the first printing of it. Carver Name of Pride. The book that inspired the film. Woman in Samara. Another little drink. Someone says that's the reprint from 1960. So that's another one which I would like to get the first off, if I can find it. J.J. Merrick, Gideon's Way. Now this one I seem to remember, a friend of mine who was a book dealer, he actually found a copy of this one, I remember at the time, in a charity shop, and it was signed. J.J. Merrick, aka John Dixon Carr. And I didn't really press him about saying, can I have that one? Can I buy that one off you? But it would have been nice. I obviously sold it long ago. And the last one is G110, the New Gal. This is a Pan original. Non-fiction again. Okay, so let's give these the brush down. Quite a bit of dust coming off these. There we are, these last few. Lovely. Right, so last sort of step of the process now is we're going to need to give these all a good polish. So let's do that next. Okay then, so it's been a while, but I'm bringing you out of retirement, Mr. Sheen, because today we need to get these pan books squirted and cleaned as best we can. And last couple of lots we've had to clean. I've not been able to use the Mr. Sheen, but we're okay today. Although it's going to take more than Mr. Sheen to make that one any good, because it was a real dog, unfortunately. But other ones will be surprised at how much, we've seen it before, just how much invisible sort of dirt and fingerprints can come off some of these old paperbacks. It really is quite incredible, and that's why we do it. A lot of it is you can't really detect it with the naked eye, but they're there. Always great fun to go through a batch of vintage pans. There weren't that many real pan classics in this particular lot, but there was a few. There was a few today. Some beautiful jackets though by Pef. Never tire of getting looking at those. It would be nice if someone could maybe pull all of Pef's jackets together, not just from Pan, but from the work he did for other publishers around this time. But I suppose because it's not like all one publisher, it might be quite tricky to get the rights. I mean, I don't know, not really my thing, but it's certainly the sort of book I would dearly like to read and enjoy. Would be sort of a book of compilation of all Pef's cover artwork. That would be really good, wouldn't it? I think it would have a market. In fact, I'm sure it would. Maybe not massive, but it'd be something. Just done like 8 books there, and we've already got quite a bit of dust off these, and not dust but dirt rather, I should say, sort of dirty fingerprint marks and grime off these fronts. And as I said during the video, these are 65 years old, so even if these have been in my collection for 30 years before I got my hands on them, chances are they've got somewhere from where they've been read a few times, and that's why we do it. And really mint ones like that come up lovely, don't they? They really sort of gleam. This is quite dirty, this one. It looks a lot brighter now. Bit of a yellowed spine on this one, and you can sort of detect it's sort of yellow in there. That usually means it was from a smoky environment. Obviously not very common, you know. Lots of people smoked. In fact, the majority of people were smoking in the 1950s, so that's absolutely to be expected. But you can sort of spot the signs, and it's not something you would wish on your old paperbacks, but like the penguins from the 1930s, for example, often have quite dusty, like sooty spines, and that's because people predominantly had coal fires in their front rooms, not like gas or anything, not like today, or central heating, and the soot would over time just sit on the spines, and they go dusty like that. Dusty spines. Photorealistic cover again. All very nice by Sam Peffer. Remember a great story about Charlie Chaplin, and it was with the British comedian Benny Hill, who I used to really enjoy. It was fun. He used to do really sort of funny sketches and what have you. A little bit sexist by today's standards, but back in the 70s and 80s, you got away with it. But Benny Hill was a massive fan of Charlie Chaplin, but he never got to meet him or anything. He was always a fan. But in later years, once Chaplin had died, his Hollywood home was opened up as a tourist attraction, and you could go and visit it, and Benny Hill went along and visited it. And in Charlie Chaplin's office was a big row of Benny Hill videos, and he couldn't believe it. So obviously Charlie Chaplin was a fan of Benny Hill, and vice versa. And he said he almost broke down and cried. He couldn't believe it. Lovely. I'll stick that over there. Hitler's secret enemy. I think we need a bit of a cleaner bit of cloth here, in all honesty. So I'll just move it down there. See, that's another one by Pef. Got his signature there, and he really was the master of sort of the close-up of a face or a body, wasn't he? He really was great at that. Great sort of natural eye. And sadly, you know, it's such a shame that the effort that went into paperback jackets back in the 1950s and 60s to sell the books, even the 70s and early 80s, seems to have become a bit of a lost art, and publishers just go for the cheap option of a typographical cover, you know, a fancy play on a logo or something like that, and it's just not the same. It's just not the same as what it used to be. And I understand progress and market conditions, but you can't help but think it's just done to be done on the cheap. And you know, one of the things people really remember about the Harry Potter books is, oh, I had that edition and with that cover. And you know, kids growing up today, they will remember the artwork of that edition of Harry Potter that they read. Now, I understand that publishers can't do really nice jackets like the Harry Potters for every book that they publish, because it just wouldn't be worth it. But I think some books really do deserve a little bit more than they actually get. You know, even some of the new Stephen King books, that, you know, 3/4 of the book jacket is made up with the title, you know, and Stephen King's name. It's just looks rubbish. I mean, maybe I'm just old-fashioned, but I think if you enjoy seeing these old paperbacks like I do and cleaning them, you've got an appreciation for a nice book jacket, and you just don't get that level of effort from publishers these days, at least in my opinion. You just don't, not any of them really. The best, I think, contemporary covers being published today are probably the Glance SF Masterworks, and I guess Hardcase Crime, who put a real effort into repackaging classic crime stories with newly commissioned jackets in a lot of cases. So I suppose those would be a couple of exceptions, but on the whole, yeah, times have most definitely changed, and I don't think for the better in this regard. really is appalling. It's quite interesting because I've got, I believe, a proof cover for that one, which is mint. Let's track down a better copy of that one. It's probably the worst Christie book in my collection. It's not that difficult to get. Last little pile now. Not a lot I can do with this one as well, with all the pen on the front, but until a better one comes along, it's as good as I can get it. Which isn't bad. I mean, it's just, you know, it's a filler. What any collector will tell you, it's just filling a hole until a better one comes along. This is another one that was quite badly nicotine stained, sadly. Look at that. Secrets of Suez. My dad went to Suez for his national service. He got caught in the very last year. The national service was a thing in the UK, and he insisted on going into the Paras, which he did, and then they got called up to fight in and around Tunisia. So, once again, as we near the end of this cleaning video, I hope you have enjoyed seeing another 60 or so vintage pan books get cleaned up. Definitely, these and Penguin are my favourite two publishers, as I'm sure you know, and I got an awful lot of them to get through, so we still got masses to do of both of them. We really, really have. forget, if there are particular publishers you're looking for, just check the backlist on the channel. Have a look through and you'll see that there's lots of variety, lots of different sorts of things. And the early videos are much the same as these. I'm just going through the process, book by book, in sort of chronological order. And we're admiring their loveliness as we go, just like that jacket there by Key. What a gorgeous one. Of course, ABC Murders in the States was released as the Alphabet Murders, so it had a slight title change when it came out in America. Which was not uncommon. I think a few Christies had different names when they were published in America, a bit like a couple of the James Bonds and that, just to suit the American market a bit better than the British ones. But yeah, the plan is Penguins next week, the next batch of Penguins chronologically in the numbering system. Then hardbacks, and it'll be sort of hardback, I think, like hardback first editions, starting at A, and we'll just work our way through the alphabet. So we'll be looking at Kingsley Amis, Ian Banks, well, the start of the alphabet basically. And we'll see how we get on. It'd be interesting to do that because some of them have definitely already been sort of protected, but I think they're all going to need a bit of a dust off, which isn't going to be a bad thing. And we'll just have a little look and see, well, assess the collection really, you know. Be a good little thing to do, that's for certain. Another pretty dirty spine there. Cloth's really getting a hammering. I thought it usually does, in all honesty, because these books, they may not show it, but they've definitely got a degree of dirt in them, you know. Running out of room here for these last few. I hope you have enjoyed today's video. If you have, don't forget, do please leave a like on the video. If you've not already, do please also hit the subscribe button. We do very well in subscribing. I think we're 1,200 now, which is great. And the channel's growing all the time, slowly but surely. I've got a sort of dedicated audience out there that are joining me for this marathon cleaning session. Something that's likely to take the best part of 2 years till I've done it all. maybe even longer. But yeah, thank you for coming along for the ride, and as I said, there's loads of backlist for you to get stuck into, so do please check that out if you're really craving a bit more content. Also, do have a look at my other channel as well. Links to everything in the description below and also on the end screen. But yeah, thank you very much for watching today, and I shall look forward to seeing you again next week with another video. Bye.